Today we shall do chapter number 7 of Moral Science, Father's Will. As human beings, our minds are continuously thinking and we face various ideas, observations, and experiences during the day. However, all these ideas, information, and observations make sense only if we are able to analyze, evaluate, and reflect upon them and draw a judgment or conclusion using our thinking skills. This is possible only if we use critical thinking using rather than ordinary thinking skills to evaluate the available information. Now what is given children here, you can see just in the introduction part that as human beings our minds are continuously thinking, that as we are human beings, so our mind keeps on thinking one thing or the other, and as we think about several things which move around us, or the things to which we experiences in our lives, we face various ideas, observations, and experiences. That is, we face various ideas comes to our mind, various thoughts come to our mind, and observations, that we observe the thing, and experiences during the day, and we experience several things. However, all these ideas, information, and observations make sense, that whatever ideas we have, whatever information we get, whatever observation we come to, so they all make sense only if we are able to analyze, evaluate, and reflect upon them. That when it will make when these ideas and information observations make sense, it makes sense only if we able to analyze, that is, if we analyze that yes, whatever we are thinking, whatever things we have experienced, whatever observation we have made, that is correct or not. Okay, and we need to evaluate those things and reflect upon them, that whatever happened or whatever we have in our mind, the thoughts we are having in our mind, that is correct or not. Okay, that we should be wise enough to make judgment or to come on conclusion through our thinking skills. This is possible only if we use critical thinking, and this is only possible that whatever things we are experiencing in our life, so that is correct or not when we evaluate. So we should use critical thinking and rather than ordinary thinking skills to evaluate the available information. That is, when we experience anything in our life, something bad happens with us or something good happens with us, so in both the cases what we should do, that in both the cases we should see the negative aspect also. We should only not think about the good things about anything that we experience. We should also think about we should do critics. Okay, now let's come to story. Amar Singh was a wise old man. He had known days when he had been very poor, but over the years he worked very hard and saved a big sum of money, bigger than he had ever expected it to be. Now, what is given? That character is given of the story named Amar Singh, and Amar Singh was a very wise old man. He had known days when he had been very poor, that is, when he was very poor at a time long ago. So he had known days, that is, he still remember about those days, that how he used to suffer or how he used to survive during those days when he was poor. But over the years he worked very hard, but as the time passed on, so for several years he kept on working very hard and saved a big sum of money, bigger than he had ever expected it to be. That is, he never expected after years that this much of money he will save for himself. He sold his small field and bought a large fertile one. So what happened, that is, after so many years when he had saved a lot of money with him, so he sold his small field which he had and he bought a large fertile field. Then he went to a cattle fair and bought the best cows that he could spot. And then after purchasing the fertile field, what he went for? That is, he went to a cattle fair and bought the best cows from there that he could spot. That is, the bestest cows he purchased for himself. From that day onwards, the field and the cattle brought him good profit, and at last he could afford to rest. And from that day, that is, since that day onwards, when he purchased fertile land and the best cows, so uh, that brought him much profit. Okay, a good profit he earned, and at last he could afford to rest. That is, after that he need not to work so hard, and he was finding time to rest. Amar Singh had three sons. So this Amar Singh, he had three sons. They were strong young men and very devoted to each other. But Amar Singh was a wise man and had seen much of the world. So what is given, that Amar Singh had three sons, and his sons were very strong young men and were very devoted to each other. But Amar Singh was a wise man and he had seen much of the world. That is, he had a lot of experiences about life. He knew that eventually his sons would get married, have their own families, and wish to settle down independently. But this Amar Singh was knowing about his sons, that what will happen in the future, that as his sons will get married, then after that they will have this thought of settling down somewhere else independently. All the wealth which he planned to pass on to his sons would finally split. And then, so what was there, that is, whatever plans he had made in his mind, that whatever wealth he has, so that he thought he will pass on to his sons, would finally split. And as he will transfer, or as he will give his wealth to his sons, so finally after their marriage it will get split. So he called his sons and said, "Well, I am an old man and have a few more years to live. As long as you all work hard and share what you have, you will not need anything from me. But when I am dead, a time may come when you wish to live independently." So, what happened one day? That one day he called his sons and he said to them that, "Well, I am an old man and I have very few more years to survive. As long as you all work hard, that is, as long as you all work hard and share what you have, so you will not need anything from me. That is, you need not want anything from me. But when I am dead, after me, a time may come when you wish to live independently. I have made a provision for that day. That is, once I will be dead, so on for that day I have made a provision. I have divided my property among you all. Right here under my bed I have buried my will." And what he said, what he told to his sons, that is, right here under my bed I have buried my will. Take it out and divide my property only when you are sure you need it. Take it out and divide my property only when you are sure you need it. And then what he told to his son, that is, you have to take this will out of this place when you make it very sure that you need it very much. Then the sons agreed. Amar Singh lived to a happy old age and then died. For a while all went well, but gradually the family quarrels increased and the brothers decided to live separately and put an end to all this. So what happened finally one day, that the sons agreed to their father that, okay, we will take this will out of this buried place when it will be very much needed. And then Amar Singh lived to a happy old age. So he had a happy old age years, and then finally he died. For a while all went well. That is, for some time everything went went very well, but gradually the family quarrels increased. But gradually what happened? The quarrels in the family kept on increasing, and the brothers finally decided to live separately and put an end to all this. It is better that we live separately and put an end to all this. Father had once told us that he had made a fair distribution of wealth between us. Let us dig up the ground under his bed and see what he has left for each of us, said the eldest brother. Okay, then what the eldest brother said, that is, let us take out our father's will and let's see that what provision he had made, and as he had told that he has made fair provision and equally he has distributed the wealth between us, among us. The men carefully dug under the bed and brought out 3 brass vessels. Opening them, they found that one contained earth, the second contained bones, and the third contained coal. The brothers looked at one another in surprise. So finally what happened? That these brothers, they called the men to dug the earth, and then as those men dug under the bed, so what they found, that there were 3 brass vessels, and as they opened one by one the vessel, so the first one contained earth, and the other contained bones, and the third contained coal. Okay, so the brothers looked at one another in surprise. What did our revered father mean by this? They wondered and they were surprised, and one of them said, that is, what our respected father mean by this, why he kept this mud in one and bones in second and coal in third. So what does it mean? They thought over it day and night but could not solve the riddle. At last they called a meeting of the elders of the village, but when the problem of the old man's will was put before them, even they could not analyze the meaning of the 3 vessels. So what they thought, that is, they thought for several days and night to uh, bring out the meaning of this, but they couldn't, and finally they thought they will call out the meetings of the elders of the village. But when the problem of the old man's will was put before those elders of the village, they even could not analyze the meaning of the 3 vessels. The brothers set out in search of a wise man, and then these brothers set out in order to find out any of the wise man who can tell that what does it mean. After traveling for a number of days, they arrived at a beautiful city. So after traveling for a number of days, so these brothers, they arrived to a beautiful city. They went to a wise old hermit, and then they went there to a very wise old sage, hermit, sadhu. They bowed low before him and paid their respect. Holy Father, said the eldest brother, we have come a long way to seek the meaning of our father's will. And then the eldest brother who was there, so he said to that hermit that, Holy Father, we have come a long way, that we have come a long way to seek the meaning, that is, to find out the meaning of our father's will. He told the man about the strange distribution of property that their father had made, and then the eldest one told that how our father has made the distribution of our property. What are we to understand from vessels full of earth, bones, and coal? They asked. The hermit smiled and answered, Sons, if you had applied your thinking skills and spent a little time in trying to understand the meaning of the 3 items, you would have saved yourselves this long journey. Then what this hermit said, that is, he smiled at first and then he answered to them, that is, dear children, sons, if you had applied your little of the thinking skill and had spent a little time in trying to understand the meaning of the 3 items which are there in the vessels, you would have saved yourself this long journey. But we did think, replied the eldest brother. But the eldest brother replied to hermit that, but we had thought much. Not only we, but our wise village elders spent much of their precious time trying to solve this mystery. The hermit smiled and said, if you would have critically thought over the problem, you would have come up with the solution. So the hermit smiled again, and then he said to the three brothers that if you would have critically thought over the problem, you would have come up with the solution. This is the solution to the eldest he gave earth, which means that he gave his fields and that they produce. To the second, he gave bones, that is, he gave his cattle, and to the youngest he gave coal or all the gold he had. Okay, now hermit told them that what does it mean. So he told to the first one, that to the eldest one, if you would have critically thought over the problem, you would have come up with the solution. So this is the solution. And what is the solution, children? Listen carefully, that to the eldest he gave earth. Earth means soil, which means that he gave his fields. Okay, and all that they produce, that whatever all the fields were given to the eldest one, and whatever is produced on the field, that is also given to the eldest one. And to the second he gave bones in the vessel, that is, he gave his cattle. And to the youngest one, cattle means that is cows, whatever number were there, so that was given to second one. And to the youngest he gave coal or all the gold he had. That is, coal here refers to, it symbolizes gold, that whatever wealth he has, gold he has, so that is given to the third one. This is the meaning of your wise father's will, and I hope you are satisfied with the fair division of the property. The brothers nodded in agreement as they were happy to receive their shares of the property. So the three brothers who were there, they nodded in agreement, that is, yes, we are very satisfied, and they were happy to receive the shares of the property. Very nice story, dear children. And now we shall read the reflections. This story talks about analyzing the information or situation available and then drawing a conclusion. Okay, so that what does this story tells us? This story talks about analyzing the information, that if any information is given to us, so we should analyze it very minutely, or situation available, or if any situation comes to us, so we should analyze that situation, that what can be done in this situation, and then drawing a conclusion, and finally we should come to conclusion. And in other words, if we say drawing conclusion based on critical thinking. Critical thinking is a thought process that involves analysis, evaluation, and reflecting upon the an ideas, an observation, available information, or an experience that a person has undergone, so as to arrive at a judgment or a conclusion. So what is given, that is, if we have to do critical thinking, so we should analyze, evaluate, and reflect upon the ideas and observation available to us, and then finally we reach to conclusion. So critical thinkers do not take things at face value. That is, critical thinkers who are there, that those people who think critically, so they do not go for the things which they see with their eyes, but they go for the hidden things, the hidden meanings. So they know that there is a difference between appearance and reality, and can easily detect the difference. That critical thinker, they are well know with the difference between the appearance and the reality, that whatever we see externally, so that is not truth, but we should go for the deeper thinking of anything. Okay, children. Now you can see the meanings are also given of few highlighted words which were there in the story. Critical. Now, what is the meaning of critical? Expressing or involving an analysis of the merits and faults of a work. Eventually, that is occurring at the end of or resulting from a process. Then provision, an amount set aside for a known liability. Revered, that is respected or admired deeply. Hermit, that is a person living in solitude as a religious discipline. With this, we have completed this chapter, and exercises will be given afterwards. Thank you.